Deep in a silent, snow-covered forest, a modest wooden cabin stood alone beneath towering pines. Inside lived a young girl named Hildegard, her widowed mother, and her little brother. Life had not been easy since her father's passing. Every day felt like another reminder of how much had changed. Their home was humble but warm, held together mostly by love and a mother's quiet strength. As Christmas approached, the weight of their struggles felt heavier than ever. There would be no feast, no glittering decorations, and certainly no gifts wrapped in ribbon. Hildegard tried to stay cheerful for her family, yet deep inside she missed the magic her father once brought into the home, the songs, the stories, the spark in the air that made Christmas feel alive. On Christmas Eve, the forest outside lay frozen and still. Snowflakes drifted softly, settling like a white blanket over everything. That evening, Hildegard's mother handed her a beautifully simple white candle, their family's last one. She asked Hildegard to place it in the window and light it as a beacon for anyone lost in the dark. It was an old tradition her mother treasured, a symbol of hope and kindness. Hildegard set the candle on the windowsill and lit it. The golden flame flickered gently, filling the small room with a warm, comforting glow. For a moment, it felt as though the tiny flame carried a promise she didn't quite understand, a whisper of something good. Moments later, the quiet night broke with the faint crunch of footsteps in the snow. Hildegard froze. Visitors were almost unheard of in their remote corner of the woods, especially on a night so cold. A soft knock echoed through the cabin. Her mother hesitated before opening the door. On the doorstep stood an older man with a weathered face and a worn coat. Beside him shivered a small boy around Hildegard's brother's age. They explained that they had been wandering for hours, caught in a sudden snowstorm, and the candle's glow had guided them here. Without a second thought, Hildegard's mother welcomed them inside. Though their own food was scarce, she shared whatever she could. The old man, touched by her generosity, later offered them a wooden angel he had carved himself. In the glow of the fire, it seemed almost magical. As the night grew colder outside, warmth slowly returned to their tiny home, not from the fire alone, but from the unexpected company that filled the room with gentle voices and grateful hearts. But when dawn arrived and the strangers prepared to leave, the old man revealed something that changed Hildegard's understanding of the candle forever. The Johnson household had always been full of warmth, but this Christmas felt different. The happy chaos that usually filled their home had slowly turned into exhaustion. Tom and Sarah, overwhelmed by work stress and rising expenses, often found themselves too tired to enjoy simple moments. Their children, 12-year-old Emma, 9-year-old Ben, and 6-year-old Lily, felt that shift too. Joy had been replaced with bickering, rushed mornings, and evenings heavy with silence. One chilly December afternoon, while searching through old holiday boxes, Sarah discovered a small wooden manger her father had carved years ago. It was plain, but beautiful in its simplicity, and seeing it brought back memories of Christmases when life felt gentler. A sudden idea warmed her heart. That evening, she placed the empty manger on the fireplace mantel, surrounded by twinkling lights. When the family gathered, she introduced an old tradition her parents had once shared with her. For each act of kindness done during the month, a single straw would be added to the manger. By Christmas Eve, the goal was to create a soft bed worthy of baby Jesus. At first, the idea was met with unsure glances. The children were used to arguing over chores and screen time, not celebrating kindness. Tom supported the idea, but was so drained from work he could barely stay awake through dinner. The first few days passed with little change. The The manger remained nearly empty, its bare wooden surface a quiet reminder of how distant kindness had become in their home. But slowly, something began to shift. Emma, determined to be a better example for her siblings, started lending a hand without being asked. She helped Lily with homework and even surprised Sarah by folding laundry one evening. Ben, inspired by his sister, quietly shoveled snow from their elderly neighbor's walkway after a storm. He came home cold and tired, but there was pride in his eyes that hadn't been there before. Even little Lily embraced the tradition in her own way, offering encouraging hugs to whoever seemed upset and drawing cheerful pictures to brighten her family's day. Every time an act of kindness was done, a piece of straw was added to the manger. Slowly, it began to fill. With each strand, the atmosphere in the house warmed. Fewer arguments, more shared laughter, small acts that lifted heavy hearts. Tom started helping Sarah more, washing dishes, fixing broken shelves, and taking over bedtime rituals when she felt overwhelmed. Sarah found herself baking extra treats to share with neighbors or sending warm messages to friends she hadn't spoken to in years. By the time the week before Christmas arrived, the manger was no longer empty. It looked fuller, brighter, a reflection of how the family had begun to repair what stress had eroded. It was the first Christmas Eve Emily had ever spent without her father, and the small apartment felt painfully hollow. The soft glow of streetlights outside only made the rooms appear emptier. Her mother was working an extra shift at the diner, leaving Emily alone with quiet thoughts and a grief that still felt too big for her young heart. In the corner stood a tiny Christmas tree. No ornaments, no lights, only a paper star Emily had made long ago. She touched its edges gently, remembering the nights she had decorated trees with her father, laughing, singing, believing Christmas would always feel magical. Now, it only reminded her of what she had lost. As she sat by the frosty window, watching snow drift down in slow, silent spirals, she noticed something unusual. A lone figure trudged through the snow-covered street below. An older man, wearing a long coat, a scarf pulled up high, and carrying a large sack slung over his shoulder. His footsteps were slow, but purposeful. Emily watched, curious. The man paused at each doorstep, placing something carefully before moving quietly to the next. His movements were gentle, almost ceremonial, as though each small gift held meaning. Unable to contain her curiosity, Emily grabbed her coat and stepped outside. The cold air stung her cheeks as she hurried along the snowy sidewalk, following the trail of his footprints. Eventually, she found a small bundle he had left near an alleyway, wrapped neatly in cloth. Inside the bundle were a few simple items: an apple, a knitted scarf, and a tin of cookies. Nothing extravagant, yet the thoughtfulness behind them made her chest tighten. Someone out there still believed in giving, even when the world felt lonely and cold. The next day, Emily asked neighbors if they had ever seen the man. Most shook their heads, but Mrs. Harper, an elderly woman with kind eyes, nodded knowingly. She told Emily about a man named Mr. Nicholas, who once lived on the edge of town. He had never been wealthy, but every Christmas Eve he would leave secret gifts for families who needed them most. No one ever caught him. One winter, he disappeared, and people assumed he either moved away or passed on. The idea sent a shiver down Emily's spine. Could the man she saw be continuing his tradition? Or could the legend itself have returned? That night, Emily sat alone with her thoughts, staring at the simple bundle she had found. Something inside her shifted. She didn't have much to give, but maybe Christmas wasn't about what you had, but what you chose to share. She gathered what little she could: a few cookies her mother brought home, tiny trinkets she no longer used, and handwritten notes decorated with small stars. She wrapped each bundle carefully. Then, when the town grew quiet, she stepped into the cold,
leaving her own tiny gifts at doorsteps, hoping they would bring someone else the warmth she had felt. But Emily had no idea that one of the bundles she delivered that night would reveal a truth about the mysterious man, one that would change everything.
Christmas morning arrived quietly, the world outside wrapped in a fresh blanket of snow that sparkled like frost-kissed diamonds. Emily woke to the sound of soft footsteps in the kitchen. Her mother, home earlier than usual, greeted her with a tired but genuine smile. She handed Emily a small package wrapped in simple brown paper. Inside was a book Emily had been dreaming of reading for months. Her mother had saved carefully to buy it. The gift warmed Emily's heart more than she expected, not because of the book itself, but because of the sacrifice behind it. Later that morning, Emily stepped outside to breathe in the crisp holiday air. The neighborhood seemed transformed. Children were laughing, sliding on the snowy sidewalks. Families stood on their porches, chatting, smiling, and holding tiny trinkets, the same kinds of items she had tucked inside her own bundles the night before. Some people held handwritten notes decorated with small stars. Seeing that, Emily's chest filled with a quiet joy. Her small effort had touched more people than she imagined. As she walked further down the street, she noticed something that made her stop. A familiar knitted scarf, the same pattern, the same shade of wool, hung neatly over the railing of the apartment stairway. It was one she had included in her bundles the night before. But the scarf wasn't just lying there. It had a folded note attached. Hands trembling with curiosity, she opened the note. "Your kindness lights places even you cannot see. Thank you. Keep the light alive." No name, no signature, just a simple message that sent goosebumps down her arms. She turned sharply, scanning the street, and there, far down the block, she spotted him again, the old man in the long coat, turning the corner slowly, almost as if he were waiting for her to notice him. Emily's heart jumped. She ran forward, boots crunching the snow beneath her, but by the time she reached the corner, he was gone. No footsteps, no sign of him at all, as if he had vanished into the winter air. Breathless, she stood still, the note pressed against her chest. For the first time since her father passed, Emily felt something warm and powerful stirring inside her. Hope. A belief that the world still held beauty, still held goodness, still held magic. When she returned home, her mother noticed the smile Emily hadn't worn in a long time. Together, they decorated the little tree. They added a few new ornaments Emily had made the night before. Stars, tiny hearts, and a small paper angel. The room didn't feel empty anymore. It felt alive. That evening, as Emily placed the mysterious note inside her book for safekeeping, she understood something deeply. The magic of Christmas doesn't disappear. It lives wherever kindness is shared. And somewhere out there, whether in legend or in real footsteps, someone else believed that too. But Emily still didn't know the truth. The mysterious man had left one final message for her, one she had yet to discover.